United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors of California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit. It is Tuesday, January 12th, and it's 9:30 a.m., and this is a virtual meeting. We want to thank the media for bearing with us during COVID. So their support during the pandemic, and we hope that they're all doing very well. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Or can I have? Thank you, Carl.
I so move.
Is there a
second? I second it.
Second.
Yes, I second.
There is one slight change to the agenda. Yes, ma'am. Let me speak, and then I'll let you speak, Manny. Cynthia Rupert is not going to give us a report, but we will be because VMS did not do their KPIs this month, or there was nothing to report on. All right, Manny.
Thank you, Sue. I've got two changes to the agenda. One is that it was written up, there was a resolution to appoint a new officer, and I sent you an email that said that to elect a first vice president, you go through a normal election process. You don't do it by resolution. Okay, so I want to make sure you got that. And the other is it has to do with the resolution for SB 3182, and I sent you a total rewrite on that. So that needs to be taken. Those are the two changes to whatever anybody else got.
Right.
Thank you.
We'll be using your resolution as our resolution.
All right.
So we'll be moving forward. Okay. Now I need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 21st, December 8th, and December 29th meeting. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Andre. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, thank you, Elsie. There is a second. Is there any discussion on?
I have a question.
Never mind.
Madam President, with regard to what Director Armendariz just said, in order to make a change to the agenda, we need 2/3 of the people. Is this really a change to the agenda, or is this basically just a modification to the editorializing the wording, to the agenda?
It is editorializing the wording to the agenda. We have planned to do
that's the United President.
We have planned to go ahead and do the standard election process.
Okay.
And it's been in the plans. It was just a wording that was put into the agenda. Okay. So is there any discussion? We have approved the minutes by acclamation, and I will move ahead to the report from the chair. Members of the board have been hearing many complaints about the staff not responding quickly enough to their problems, and most of these complaints are certainly justified. So here is more detail. 4 months ago, in September, a piece of very sophisticated malware was inserted into our main computers, unbeknownst to us. 1 month later, it had deeply embedded in our systems, and it was set off. We had no access to our data. We didn't gain access until mid-December, 2.5 months later. First of all, we had no access to online data. Second of all, we needed to run our business essentially on pen and paper and personal computers. To elaborate, the phones and most of the computers have been unusable. Staff has had to resort to their own cell phones and the personal email addresses. All records of work orders in process, requests for permits, and resale packages were unavailable. Fortunately, the finance computer was not compromised. VMS has had to purchase a whole new phone system since our old was not securable. They've had to certify every computer, iPad, and software system free of malware, then reload all the files on these computers. An enormous task. They've worked around the clock and weekends to accomplish this, and they're close to being finished. I hope this will explain some of the problems. Now, because residents are not hearing back and service has been slow, residents are calling multiple times, thus tying up the phone lines and increasing the wait time even further. On top of that, because of COVID, many staff are working from home, and connectivity is not as direct as when they're all together in an office building. They've had to learn new skills to work with each other and with you, the residents. I know this is not the service you expect or have had in the past, but current circumstances are unusual. The board understands this has caused hardship on our residents and are working on finding ways to solve the problems. New secure software has been purchased and files have been secured on the cloud. Hopefully in the next few weeks, things will settle down and staff can catch up. The board is aware of the problems in alteration department because many members of the board are experiencing because they're remodeling as well. They are not moving ahead in the line. I am trying to keep you updated on the progress. I will try to keep you updated on the progress, and I appreciate your patience on these matters. The next thing is a word to wise. It's more than 10 days since the election, so campaign and political signs and flags should be taken down. Let's heal the nation. Also, Christmas decorations should be taken down. It's past Christmas time. Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to the open forum. Becky, do we have any letters or information from
Good morning, President Margolis and esteemed members of the board. We do have some member comments. Our first one is from Annie Zipkin at 523 D as in David. Her member comment is, I am so deeply saddened and disappointed by the way VMS has treated me from a mistake that was made by its staff. In April 2017, the HOA payment was not taken out from my automatic payment. However, in November of 2020, 3.5 years later, VMS, without any notice, went into my bank account, which is illegal and immoral, and took out $780 plus my current monthly HOA. I was shocked and called immediately, but received no response. I was panicking since I had no money for daily expenses, thus sold some stock to survive. We are customers of VMS and expect that when an employee makes such a big mistake and causes emotional distress to us, the manager of VMS must act and make the employee accountable. I expect sincere apologies with the makeup action, such as the total waive of the April 2017 HOA amount or a gift card, clearly showing their sympathy to me. VMS money and their staff salaries come from us. We deserve to see that our pain from their mistakes is seen and understood. I cannot express enough my sadness for the unprofessional action of VMS. In all this distress, I could tell you that offering me that money back and taking back as an installment is not what I would call amends, nor putting a lien on my home. An amends is when you do something nice for somebody after doing something wrong to show that you care and make up for the mistake. I do not think VMS understands this at all. This administration handling of crisis has really shown up as the true colors of the people on top here who do not seem to care about running this vulnerable village of 18,000 people. Only looking at me as a number has totally discounted me and my feelings as a human being. You really should be ashamed of yourself. Next member comment is from Ellen Leonard at 422 G as in Go. This letter was delivered on December 2nd to Sue Margolis, but was not presented to the board. It's requesting a ramp to be installed at laundry room 74. It has now become unsafe and hazardous to those who use it, carrying laundry up and down. I have more signatures that have been signed to petition, please advise. And there are pictures attached. Next member comment is from Mark Lustig from 2121C as in Charlie. Hi, I have two issues with the laundry room. First, when my machines break down and people put the plastic out of service tags on the machine, they're not calling in to resident services to let them know the machine is broken. If you don't let resident services know, it will never be fixed. The second issue is people are washing and drying their clothes and then don't return their clothes or finish to pick them up. There are a limited number of machines in the laundry room and other people using them, so please pick up your laundry up in a timely manner. Next member comment is from Gloria Euron at 653C as in Charlie. Comment is, why has the cost of the insurance tripled from last year to this year? It has tripled from one year to another. And that's all the member comments I have today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. Jeff, would you like to reply to any of these?
May I ask my question?
Not at this time. Not at this time, Andre. That is not. Jeff is going to reply. Thank you.
Yes, to the board, good morning. A couple of them I would like to respond to. On the one of the requests was regarding the steps and the request for looking at a ramp with regards to entering into the laundry facility. Both Dan Yost, our risk manager, and M&C staff have looked at that and evaluated that and looked at the addressing the issue with regards to the potential of putting a ramp in versus the steps that are there. And the steps are by design certain standards, but we are evaluating that at this point in time, and we'll be able to address that with the resident and very soon. With regards to, well, the last one had to do with the use of the laundry. With regards to the first concern, we recognize what was addressed by the resident. In fact, we had specifically had Catherine and our staff working with Finance Department and to resolve that issue and apologize to the resident for the miscommunication and incorrect information, and that apology and that was made, but obviously the individual didn't feel comfortable with what staff had done up to that point in time. So we have issued an apology and we have addressed the issue. So, and that's all I have with regards to those three items.
Siobhan, do you want to just address any of them?
No, Jeff covered our responses. Thank you very much.
Okay, Andre, we will discuss that in our closed meeting, what you have put into the chat box. That is on our agenda for closed meeting. Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yep, Carl, go ahead.
There was that last woman that specifically asked about the cost of insurance. We have gone on record, you have gone on record as to what the story was with the cost of insurance, yet we still have people that are debating the fact that the cost of insurance is going on sky high. Do you want to comment on that before we go on? Because you've already talked about it in various different places and on TV6 and what have you.
The situation is due to the fires and climate change and a number of other things, hurricanes and so forth. The insurance companies are no longer insuring areas in it completely. So we had to go out and get new insurance. We used to have one insurer to give it to us. In order to get insurance this year, we had to go to 35 different companies to make up our insurance. We did not take up the $700,000 that we have had, 700 million, let me get these numbers correct, that we have had in the past. We only bought 425 million, which is what we budgeted. Our insurance company has doubled our and 20%. One of the reasons for this is that we had an assessment made of our property. We had not had an assessment done for about 10 years. And our property values went double compared to what we had been using in the past. So that was one of the causes for the doubling of the insurance. And the 20% was due to what they need to cover the other problems they have in insurance. So our insurance went up 2 plus 20%, and we had to pass the cost on to you since we have no other sources of income. We have an insurance group working, trying to find a better way for future years so that it doesn't keep escalating up. And we're looking at asking every resident to have an HO6 for our disaster fund. And we will be putting out more words on that once we get through the finding and broker and et cetera on the insurance committee. I'm sorry that this has occurred, but we had no control. We have no control on taxes, and we have no control on insurance. And we controlled what we could. Thank you. Okay, Cash, would you take care of the ones that we had last time so we make sure everybody understands?
Definitely, Madam Chair. For the December 8th meeting, we had several people who came up and asked questions. Number one item, expressed concern about use of gas-powered leaf blowers in the community. Our landscape department has tried raking, brooming, and most recently walk-behind vacuums to reduce the use of blowers. The landscape department has also investigated the use of electric equipment to reduce noise pollution, but technology and ruggedness of these equipment needs to be further refined. In the meantime, the department is retraining its crew to be more efficient with blowers and the use of rakes where appropriate. Second item was on behalf of 250 and 251 Aragon, whatever. We kindly request that lighting be installed for sidewalks. Maintenance and construction department is reaching out to these people and taking care of these issues. Next item, chargeable services dispute was mentioned. The maintenance and construction department communicated with Mr. So-and-so who made the complaint about submitting an appeal requesting pertaining to an October members hearing committee meeting. And the person has been afforded due process in accordance with the appeal process for compliance and damage restoration cases. Next item, a member commented on the residents utilize laundry rooms, the trading of materials such as puzzles, in laundry rooms during the pandemic. Commented on community insurance costs, and President Margolis suggests to spread the risk among the entire membership, indicating therefore that before transitioning to self-insurance, the board must resolve several important issues, including some things that insurance companies and brokers don't mention. I suggest that the board authorize President Margolis to consult a lawyer who specializes in insurance law. I guess this comment was for insurance concerns on keeping stuff in laundry room. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move into the election of a new board member. And each candidate will have 3 minutes to give us some background material about themselves. Then we have 5 questions for each of them. They will have 2 minutes to answer these questions. And then the directors will vote using the chat box Catherine, to the presenter or to you personally?
To organizers only, please.
Organizers only, okay. and we will count the votes and announce the results. I've asked Cynthia Rupert to be the moderator for these questions. And so, Cynthia, will you begin? We will allow each person the 3 minutes, and then Cynthia will ask the questions. I'm going to start with Ray. Would you go ahead and turn your camera on and give us 3 minutes telling us about yourself?
Good morning, Madam President and the rest of the board members. My name is Ray Riahi. I am a resident of Laguna Woods. For the last 3 years, I moved in on late October of 2020.
May I have your camera on, please?
My camera has a line through it. Is it on now?
No, it is not on.
I see myself here.
Okay, if you can't get your camera on, let's go ahead because we don't have much time today.
Okay. Personally, I consider myself a very open-minded, team player, patient, and good listener. I'm very punctual, respectful to others, and I believe in everybody's innocent unless proven guilty. My educational background, I have a Master of Science in Mathematics. I also have Master of Science in Engineering, and I'm a pilot, registered licensed pilot. My background is having memberships of professional engineers in California government. Also, I'm a member of American Society of Civil Engineers, and I also member of Airplane Owners and Pilot Association of America. My experiences after I graduated from college in Southern Illinois University, I went to Texas and worked as an engineer for 5 years. Late 1986, early 87, when the city went bankrupt, I moved to California, West Los Angeles. I purchased my own business as a Paragon graphics and printing company. Through the first few years, from 2 to 3 employees, I went up to 10 permanent employees and hired some temporaries to get the job done. Main client was like Columbia Pictures. During that time, not as a president and the owner of the company, I did most of the work, paperwork, keep the bookkeeping and accounting, payrolls. And at the end of the year, of course, everything was turned over to my CPA for tax purposes. And that's the reason. Skills have also always been called through the friends, jack of all the sports. I have played NCAA soccer, and I have a championship trophy from 1979, which I'm always bragging about it. We won the national championship in Florida, beat Clemson in the soccer. And I'm also bilingual, speak Farsi and English, if I consider my English. You guys understand? I'm a good handyman. I've been helping my neighbors,
3 minutes has expired.
Thank you very much. We will now ask Dave Merriweather to give his 3-minute speech.
This is Dave Merriweather. Evidently, I don't have a camera going today, so you'll have to do without that. I'm sorry. My early life, I grew up in the upper Midwest and spent most of my life there, as a matter of fact. I attended the University of Iowa, Drake University, and Oakland University, but no degrees from it. This was not a problem with my career. My career was mainly in the automotive industry. I spent 36 plus years with Volkswagen of America and another 17, 18 years with Volkswagen dealers, both before and after that. With Volkswagen of America, most of my career would have been in mid-level management. I was in two of their subsidiaries. One was Grs Systems, where I was instrumental in developing the computer systems for the nationwide dealer network that we sold to the dealers. And I ended my career in VW Credit, or the credit arm, as a business development manager, and then as a senior collateral protection specialist, where I worked with dealers that owed us a lot of money, and all of North America was my territory for that. I retired in 2006 from Volkswagen, went to work at Capistrano Volkswagen, and then at Norm Reeves Volkswagen. Twice since I retired, I was called back to handle sold out of trust situations with large dealers. This took another year and a half of time. And the last time I was called back was for Dieselgate, where I managed a team of 20 plus people handling the diesel scandal in Orange County and surrounding areas, primarily Orange County. That pretty well covers my career. I have been involved in many civic activities. I was the president of a church congregation in Minneapolis. I was a treasurer of a church congregation in Michigan. I have been president of a couple bicycle clubs. I did run a bicycle shop in Michigan while I was working for Volkswagen. And since I got transferred out here in 1997 and immediately moved to the village, been here since then. I've been a member of the bike club here, the Recyclers, when that was in business, and then they had the Silver Streaks after that. Been a member of the Laguna Woods Archery Club. I was the president last year for that. I'm also a member of the Society of Antique Modelers, or SAM, which is the Model Airplane Association, and I've been involved in international meetings with that for several years. And I'm currently an associate vice president of District 10 for the Academy of Model Aeronautics. So you can tell I'm into modeling a little bit. And I did something a little bit different later in my life. That 2011, we adopted an 11.
3 minutes have expired.
And because we couldn't. Okay.
Thank you. And now Diane, please. You need to turn, there you go.
Oh, there I am. Okay. So good morning, everybody. My name is Diane Casey, and I have lived and owned a property here in Laguna Woods for 16 years. And I was originally from New York, and I moved out here in 1979, specifically for education, because New York was very expensive, and I wanted to become an accountant. And I was working in accounting there in a paper distributor, and I moved out here. I had 2 sisters and a brother that lived here, and I got a job working for a manufacturer of composite structures. And so I wanted to become an accountant because I was trying to get a position there that required that. So I decided, as I was going to school for accounting, to become a CPA. So in 1991, I did become a CPA. First, before that, I worked for an accounting firm in Newport Beach to get my hours, and then I worked down in San Clemente at a firm and worked with a lot of manufacturers and different business companies. So anyway, to get on track with Laguna Woods, I bought a place here in 2004. I lived in Laguna Niguel before that, and I had been on their board. I'd been on a board for one of my clients in Cypress Shores, and I moved here and I remodeled my house to the tune of about $150,000. So I have my dream house that I will probably live here for the rest of my life, and I tried to get on the board twice. Once when they were trying to extend the 6-month policy I didn't make it then, and then later, Reza asked me to try to get on a temporary position, which I did not. I got close to being chosen, but I didn't. So anyway, I've been on the Roberts Rules Study Club for many years, just to be a better at Roberts Rules. And I am a certified public accountant. I've had a lot of experience with financial and professional experience. As an accountant, I've assisted clients with financial software, upgrades and conversions. Recently, I assisted a property manager firm in San Clemente switch from Yardi.
3 minutes have expired.
Okay.
Okay, Cynthia, would you start the 5 questions per person, please?
I'd be happy to. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the candidates. I'm going to start with Abdul, and then I'm going to give each question, and you have, I believe, 2 minutes to answer each of these questions. What is it that the United Board does or should be doing? Good morning.
Good morning. To my understanding, there are 3 different boards in Laguna Woods. And United is one of them, which mainly works with the co-op owners. And they do distribute and make a decision on expenses, which would be kind of a cost sharing. The money comes in, the money has to go out. And they're making a decision of what allocation would be for what department. To give you an example, for example, the dues comes in and they have to be distributed to the landscaping, they have to be distributed for recreation, and they have to be, some of it to be allocated for transportation. Now, again, as far as the landscaping concerned, it would be different areas that the money has to be shared as far as the cost concerned. That's all my understanding from United Board.
Thank you. And let's go to David. What skills, resources, and expertise do you have, and how would you use them on behalf of the board?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What skills, resources, and expertise do you have, and how would you use them on behalf of the board?
I'm very good at working with people and determining what the facts are and what the needs are, and then getting things done. The board has been doing a good job, but the country and the village are both entering new times where nothing will be as we knew it before. And we have a chance to work together on this, and that is one of my big skills. I've been able to get things done where everybody said it couldn't happen. I've also not always been able to get it done when it couldn't happen, but I have been very good at that. So that's my primary skill that I would bring to the village in this.
Okay, thank you. And for Diane, as a long-term member of this community, what changes for the better have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of really good things happen in this community. They're taking care of infrastructure, which was a big problem before. And they're offering a lot of wonderful activities and things for, the elderly that really enhances their life for a long term. I mean, they've done studies on it at UCI. So I think it's a wonderful community. What's so nice right now is to see so many people out walking. I hope we get to see that in the future. And it will be nice when all the business gets back to normal and we can become a really united community again. So I would like to continue in that path, you know, to address the issues that this community needs, lighting, plumbing, you know, all those things that sidewalks. Sidewalks are a good one, so people don't trip. Yeah, so you know, I'm very interested in getting to know the board and how it runs during this one-year commitment, and to be involved in the future.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Let's go back to David, and could you please let me know and the board know if you are familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act?
Help me out with the Sterling Act.
The Davis-Sterling Act?
Yes.
Have you read the Davis-Sterling Act? It gives you a guideline for, I'm trying to help you out a little bit here.
Okay, yeah. No, I have not read it. I need to, obviously.
Yes, definitely you
So
do. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So obviously I can't really answer your question.
I guess that would be yes, you do need to read it, because most of our boards all of our boards and all of our communities have a guideline that you have to follow or should follow. And the Davis-Sterling Act is the gold standard that all of our members should be aware of.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. How about Abdul? How much time are you willing to actually dedicate to the board?
I'm sorry, repeat your question, please.
Sure. How much time are you willing to dedicate to the board?
Well, of course, as long as it takes to get the job done. You know, that the question is very difficult. Something can be done by one meeting. Something needs more attention, more study, more analysis, you know, and you come up with 4 or 5 or 6 different alternatives. Choosing the best alternative is not that easy. So I cannot answer your question that how much time, but as far as I'm concerned, I have plenty of time which I can put in good use and help the whole community as a whole, instead of timing which I'm spending with my immediate neighbors. You know, I'm going to tell you something regarding, I think I'm the only resident in Laguna Woods who had to go out 2 weeks ago and buy lawnmower. I love to see my, you know, courtyard as pristine as possible. The landscaping department, however, they do their job perfectly, but their equipment is so heavy. When they come to the new grass, they start turning on a dime and digging a hole and messing up the whole thing. So I went out, I bought my lawnmower, I come back in here and tell all my neighbors that I will take care of the landscaping around here. And please do not let those lawnmower, if I'm not present, to get in. Finally, they allow me to put a sign in Spanish, which I don't understand, but it says, do not cut this grass. So that's how long it takes to get the job done. And I do have the time for it and the passion to do it.
All right, thank you. Diane, what do you think is the most important improvement needed in United?
Diane, you're muted.
Well, just keeping up with the infrastructure in the different buildings we have here. I mean, I know that that's probably a GRF issue, common property, but just to make sure that we're safe, that the lighting and the sidewalks and the tree trimming and all that makes it so that we have better visibility and ability to to walk safely, and I really appreciate that everything that's been happening with COVID. It's a great thing that you've done, that you've made it mandatory to wear masks. I'm sure that I have no idea how many people have COVID now here in Laguna Woods, but I'm sure it's still very, very low, and I really appreciate that. So the board has a lot of say in how our residents are treated, and I just hope it continues in that positive way. Thank you.
Okay, let me come back to you. What skills, resources, and expertise do you have, and how would you use them on behalf of the board?
Well, I am a CPA, as I mentioned, and so I have a lot of skills in that department, in budgeting and financial statements, in working with boards, and also in working with software and security. I've had a lot of companies as a CPA that I helped with their either monitoring their software they issued, their backups, their security, making sure that they were safe and that they had good procedures and policies in place. And I've had a lot of experience here with visits to the GRF board and the Finance Committee, and and Robert's Rules. A lot of the people that were in my club, Joan Milliman, John Beckett, Jonathan Adler, Mike Struzioso, they've all been involved in their boards, so I have learned a lot I know all about the underlying documents from not only Laguna Woods, but also from, Cypress Shores and Pacific Island Village. You've got the bylaws, and, I believe I bring a lot. So I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. David, how much time are you willing to dedicate to the board?
I'm willing to dedicate whatever time it takes to get something done. I have other interests, but they do not drive what needs to be done. And if we have something that's going to require a lot of time, it needs to get that time, because we need to be able to move forward on things. So I'm willing to dedicate whatever it takes to get it done. If I need to dedicate more and somebody tells me, then I will do that also. But I see pretty well when things need to be done. Throughout my career, I've always worked many longer hours than I was paid for to get something done. And I get satisfaction out of being able to accomplish that way.
Okay, thank you. Abdul, excuse me. The board are part-time volunteers who serve a brief term. The staff organization are full-time professionals, many with long service, who see board members come and go. What do you think are the best strategies for our boards in dealing with this relationship?
Well, making a better environment, making a better community to live, and when you know you are part of it, to get the job done and make your neighbors and other residents and the whole community much more comfortable, it is rewarding by itself. Therefore, I'm willing to put my knowledge, my experience to work for a better days to come. Thank you.
But what are strategies that you would think the board could use in dealing with the relationship between the boards and the staff?
Well, that has to come when the meeting is upon all of us. So it would be ideas gathered, information collected, and put to the best use as possible. That's all I can say about that. strategies. There's tons of different strategies. It depends on what kind of a concept you're tackling.
Okay, thank you. Diane, how much time are you willing to dedicate to the board?
Oh, as much as time as it takes. I mean, I know it involves the monthly board meetings and committee meetings and being involved with new residents and, you know, working in the community and making sure that information gets passed on to the various entities that are going to get the job done. So I am available to do those things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Abdul, are you familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act?
As much as you explained, no, I did not read it, but a few minutes ago you spoke about it a little bit, and that's all I know about it. No, I have to read it too.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Losing my voice, I think.
Let me follow up with, please, give me a minute.
Sure.
When you were talking about the strategies, one of the strategies I used while I was teaching Cal Poly in, San Luis Obispo, I actually taught there, not as a professor because I didn't have a PhD, but as they used to call us lecturer. I went in and we had a problem with one of the engineering courses, and the students were not very good at it. And that would become a dilemma, whether we change the textbook or what else can we do? So I came up with this idea that why don't we do this? Let's try the very first day to give all the students in the class grade A. Everybody, whoever registered, they come to the class, they're already A students. And as the time goes by, they have to keep their A. Otherwise, if they don't perform, they're going to lose the A to B, C, and D and drop out. Believe it or not, it worked, and still they are working the same strategy I started.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to David. What do you think is the most critical issue facing United Mutual, and how would you work to resolve it?
Not knowing the specifics of all of the issues that we're facing, and only on the surface, I think the most critical issue that we have is communications. Getting information out to the residents, getting information in from the residents, working with VMS and GRF. And this, to me, is a very critical area. And if we have good communication set up and they're flowing in all the directions, we will get things done and we will move forward. I mean, right now we're hearing about the insurance costs and things like that, but these are really temporary type things, and we, as was said earlier, we don't have much control over it. So we have to communicate and get the information out so people understand it and better accept it. And that is my thought on it.
Thank you. And David, I'm coming back to you again.
Okay.
As a member of the United Mutual community, what, if any, are complaints you may have heard about from other residents? And what is your first impression of how we should go about handling those complaints?
Well, the most common complaint that I've heard is that landscaping looks horrible. A lot of the residents don't like that we're going back to native landscaping, and I came from the upper Midwest where everything was grass. I prefer what we're going to. It makes a lot of sense visually and economically. So that's the biggest complaint I've heard. I've been hearing more about things aren't getting done as quickly as they should. And I'm reading about that in the Globe all the time. That has not been my experience, but I'm working with the people that I hear that from to find out how they're approaching it and what they really think about it. So that's really about all I can say. That the worst problems to me are we need to better communicate things.
Okay, and thank you very much. Okay, Diane, are you familiar with the Davis-Sterling Act?
Yes, I am familiar with it. I have read it, and I have, I also know about that it takes precedence over a lot of issues that come up with HOAs. And also then there's the bylaws and other governing documents that have the corporation documents, the corporate law, there's a lot of different governing bodies that we have to know about. Any questions? Okay.
Okay. Abdul, I guess I should be saying Ray, but how will you react if your initiative does not get the board support?
I'm sorry, while I was unmuting my microphone, I lost some of your question.
Okay, let me try that again.
Please.
How would you react if your initiative does not get the board support?
Well, I have to deal with it because this is majority voting, the initiative. First of all, most of my initiatives would be considered as something that needs to be addressed. I will not bring any personal agenda inside to get done. If it is what I think it's the need of our community to be discussed in the board. And I live with it. I try my best to get it through, but if it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you to all the candidates, and I will turn it back over. I appreciate all the answers.
Thank you, Cynthia, for your moderation. We really appreciate it. I will open it up to perhaps 2 or 3 questions from the board member, and I understand Cash has a question. Go ahead, Cash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions. One is for Diane. She openly has said that she has 30 to 40 hours a month work that she has to do. So is she still comfortable coming in, putting 40 to 50 hours a month that we put? My question to you, Diane.
Okay. Well, I'm a retired CPA. I have a few clients. Mostly it's probably like 20 hours a month, that I do a little bit of work for, which I can do anytime, through my computer or online. One client just takes 7 hours once a month. The others, I go to their office and help somebody reconcile a bank account for an hour. It's not a lot of things, but yeah, I think I could handle, what did you say, 30, 40 hours of the board?
At least.
Mm-hmm.
Is behind the scenes also included in that? You have to work at home on items that need to be presented and need to be taken care of throughout the week, throughout the month, actually. Okay?
Yeah. Well, that's why it's very good for me to do this for this year. And if I want to continue doing it for the rest of my life, I could. But yeah, I do have time. And I do have an interest. So thank you.
Carl, would you like to ask your question, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question of all of them, and I'd like to add on to what was just mentioned by Director Akrakar. Each one can give me an answer, please. And that has to do with the fact that while Cash indicates that it's basically 20 or 30 hours a month, I'd say it's more like 20 or 30 hours a week, okay? Especially if you're on these ad hoc committees. We do a lot of work behind the scenes So at this particular point in time, when you take on this role, if you're not willing to commit to that type of time, then it will be somewhat of a detriment to the board. And we can't have people we can't have people basically just not doing anything while other people take up the slack. So I guess my question to each one, and I'd like to maybe start with Diane and then go on to Ray and David, okay, is to whether or not they'd be willing to spend that kind of time, because we do a lot of work behind the scenes. It's not only board meetings. We do a lot of work behind the scenes. So, Diane, could you possibly address that?
Yes, I am aware it's a enormous position that, you know, you should be involved in the committees, and especially I would probably be involved in finance and you know, I know it's a big commitment. So I'm definitely willing to do it and to be involved. I will give it my all. You know, that's why I'm glad it's only a year, because if I can definitely handle a whole year of it, but we'll just see. How do I like it? You know, so I'm willing.
Thank you. Ray, could you answer that question also, please?
Absolutely. I am very familiar with that. I used to get paid 6 hours per week and work 25 to 30 hours for it. 6 hours of classwork needed at least 10 to 15 hours preparation, and you're not getting paid for that. You're only getting paid for this. But the passion to go teach and see better students, you know, is part of the deal. And exactly that's what I'm going to do with the board. I do a freelancing engineering work right now, which is on my own time. And when they send something to me to do, I would say, okay, it will be done next week or 10 days from now. I give them the date. So I can sit down at 2 o'clock in the morning and work on that, or I can get up 6 o'clock in the morning and work with that. Therefore, I do have time, and I would love to be a member so I can put my experience and knowledge into use. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, could you respond to that? And then I have no other questions. Dave, thank you.
Yes, I've been on several boards, and I fully realize that they say it takes X number of hours, and it's usually X plus 2 or 3 times X. And I had started to work my way through on the computer the minutes that were sent out to us, and that gives me an idea of how much work is involved. Then when I got the printed copy, which is real good, I worked my way through all 120 pages of that. And that gave me a pretty good feeling of how much background time is necessary just to accomplish what is publicly aired. And I'm willing to do that. Like Diane, for this year, yes, it'll get everything it takes. And if I like it, then I can run again. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're going to go ahead and move on to voting. So everybody get ready in the chat box. You need to vote to the presenter, correct, Catherine?
Organizers only.
I believe it's the organizers.
The organizer, okay, the organizer. Choose the organizer and then put the name in of who you're voting for. Okay. While they're counting the vote, we'll go on to the CEO report.
Very good.
Jeff, you're on now.
Thank you, Sue. Again, good morning, everybody. I have a few things, and then I'll shift over to Siobhan because I know she has a couple things. One, I wanted to give you an update of some of the information that may not be out there. It's out there public in some cases, and some of it is some further discussions on the vaccine with regards to COVID and addressing our issues. On the vaccine front, yesterday our staff had a very good conversation with Memorial Care and we are continuing to work with Memorial Care to look at the opportunities, possible opportunities of getting a vaccine out to our community here at Laguna Woods, separately from what is directly being talked about by the county at this point in time. The county, if you have maybe seen the press release or haven't, the county is looking at creating 5 what they call super pods, which are points of distribution. Those super pods include Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, Soka University down here, and the Great Park was one of the other locations that they mentioned. Those would be where you would have an appointment, you would have to bring in certain notification, proof of your age, and that type of activity, or that you were in this certain dedicated group of caregivers or first responders. They're trying to roll that out as soon as next week, starting with the Disneyland site. And we continue to work with Memorial Care to see if we can do, in a sense, a separate mini pod here using one of our clubhouses and coordinating with traffic control with the city of Laguna Woods. We've been had a nice conversation with Chris Macon, the city manager, and he's stepped up to the plate with regards to if we're able to do that or coordinate that the city would help us with regards to traffic control on any of the major streets associated with the clubhouse that we would choose to implement with. So we're going to have a follow-up meeting later in the week, and I'm hoping by the end of the week we'll have some specific information that we can get out to our community with regards to the phase 1 vaccination level. And again, for those watching, phase 1 has that affects us is any resident 75 and older is included in the phase 1 process with regards to the vaccine. Now, on the national news, the CDC came out today and indicated that they were recommending to all the governors throughout the state that they start looking at further implementation of down to 65 and older, and then 60 and older if you have a corresponding illness or a precondition that would necessitate moving forward. So the big push right now is on the vaccines, obviously, and the importance of that big push is because we're not out of the woods with regards to the infection rate is still continuing to climb with regards to more and more cases out of 100,000 where our percentages continue to grow. Yesterday we had 3,200 cases, over 3,200 cases in Orange County. The unfortunately, death toll in Orange County was 29 yesterday. It was 29 the day before that, and it was 49 the day before that. So that's real unfortunate that we're seeing such a increased rate of deaths in Orange County. With regards to the village here, we have seen an increase in the number of cases, but still in proximity to the figures and everything, a fairly low amount, which means people are still doing a really good job of wearing their mask and washing their hands. The numbers for Laguna Woods are 259 cases with 13 deaths reported as of yesterday. Probably the one note, if you go on the website, Orange County website, they have information on a lot of this that I'm reiterating on the vaccines and also the cases. But one of the things I did want to mention was the one that we watch and talk about, there's a lot of talk about, is that the ICU bed count is now up to 544 people in ICU, and that is put all of Southern California from San Luis Obispo down to San Diego County in basically a 0% ICU capacity. And what they're doing in 3 cases now in Orange County, and actually expanding to 4 cases, where they're actually building what I'll call tent facilities outside in the parking lots at some of the major hospitals. The to handle ICU cases, and this is not just COVID cases, but to handle triage of individuals who have other situations that they need to get into critical care. That's happening up at St. Joe's up in Fullerton. They're also doing it at Los Alamitos, and they're doing it also with the UCI Medical Center in Orange. Those were the first three that came out with this expanded use of their facility. So there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of efforts made by the hospitals and the caregivers to address anybody that's getting COVID. And unfortunately, the cases continue to rise. So this is probably the crux of where we're seeing the input of not only the Christmas but New Year's activity, where more and more people got together. And that is what everybody's addressing right now with regards to COVID. But we will certainly keep you advised of this effort that we're making, a very strong effort to work with Memorial Care and our teams to put together, hopefully, an implementation plan where we can get the vaccine out to our community a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. Obviously, if you had to go to a super site, we'd have to address transportation for some of our community members. And so obviously, if we could hold a pod activity here in the village, it would be much more efficient and effective for us. I'll keep you posted on that. With regards to another, what Sue mentioned on continue working on the malware, we are going to have a special, ask for a special GRF Finance meeting. We went to the GRF board and gave them an update with regards to where we were on the malware and getting all of our computer network back up to speed. And not only getting it back up to speed so we could run our, kind of what we had in the past, but also enhancing it and the need to enhance it in order to protect against any kind of additional malware or new malwares that are coming out. And the country, by the way, during this COVID has seen more and more suspicious malware attacks. So we want to be prepared for the future. So we'll be presenting a report to the GRF Finance and then onto the full GRF board after Friday. And then finally, I wanted to mention a couple things that Sue also mentioned, and that is a couple of efforts that we're working on at the staff level to address and dive down into how can we make improvements into resident services and our phone call system, and looking at whether or not we can augment our current operation in order to get more calls addressed right at the beginning, and so that we take an upstream perspective versus waiting until we get a third or fourth call and getting those calls into a clearance. And with that, specifically addressing some of our manner alterations and how we can pick up not only addressing people who have called and who have made submittals already for permits, but how we're going to address going forward with the manpower and the necessary operation moving forward. So I'll have more updates on that. We're going to bring that a report through our committee process and then ultimately to the boards to provide you more information with regards to both of those operations in the very, very near future. And that's all I had from my report, and I'm going to turn over to Siobhan.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, Honorable President, members of the board. The free bulky item pickup scheduled for the third Saturday of each month will occur this month on Saturday, January 16th, so in a few days. If you want to participate, please contact Resident Services at 949-597-4600. And as a reminder, you need to place your bulky items near your trash enclosure or the same location you set out your trash bins. And items must be set out the night before collection or no later than 7 a.m. on collection day. We have received information from the City of Laguna Woods that it is partnering with the Orange County Healthcare Agency and the 360 Clinic to offer free walk-up COVID-19 testing. This occurs every Wednesday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Laguna Woods City Hall at 24264 El Toro Road. Appointments and face masks are required. You need to bring a form of identification and your insurance card if applicable. Results are returned within 72 hours and after test resources are available. To register, you need to go online to 360, that's 360clinic.md. We've also received word through the City of Laguna Woods that the Orange County Transportation Authority is going to be conducting clearing and grubbing work along the Interstate 5. A small number of Laguna Woods Village residents will receive postcards regarding the clearing and grubbing work along the interstate. The clearing and grubbing work will occur within the right-of-way areas adjacent to the I-5 between El Toro Road and Alicia Parkway. The city manager assures us that this work is not related to still pending I-5 El Toro Road interchange project, and the clearing and grubbing is part of the work that has been underway on the I-5 between State Route 73 and El Toro Road. I have some announcements from the Recreation and Special Events Department. Clubhouse 1, the Outdoor Fitness Center, and Garden Centers will reopen tomorrow to residents. This is Wednesday, January 13th. And additionally, there will be no coin exchange program for the laundry room quarters this Thursday, January 14th. The Horse Trail by Building 921 off of Avienda Majorca is tentatively scheduled to be closed for the week of January 18th through the 22nd. This is to allow for the South Coast Water District to complete some work on the water valve and its water supply line, which is located under the Horse Trail. The Horse Trail must be shut down from all access points during this project. And finally, the Recreation Department announces the 2021 Lap Challenge. And this is a opportunity for swimmers to test their mettle by joining the challenge to discover whether they can swim the distance from Florida to Cuba. The total distance is 103 miles and is cumulative over the course of the year. Key details include the challenge runs from January 1st to December 31st, 2021, can be completed at lap pools 2 and 5. You chart your distance in lengths or laps using the same measurement each time you swim. Please check in with the pool attendant each session to log your progress, and you can call the Recreation Department for more information. And that concludes my update this morning. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, could Siobhan repeat the online number to get appointments for tests at City Hall? The online address, I mean?
Yes, it is 360clinic.md. And I'll put it in the chat box as well, so you have it that way as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we're not going to go into the vaccine anymore. I think we are not a medical people, and so I'm going to ignore the questions on the vaccine, if you don't mind. Andre, those things will be discussed in the closed meeting. So let's move on. I'd like to move on. We have a lot on our board to be done today, so I'd like a motion to accept the consent calendar.
President Margolis, we have the tallied results of the United Board appointment.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right, one moment while we bring it up.
Just read it out. We don't need to spend time looking at it. Please read it out.
Okay, Diane Casey received 4 votes, and she is the new member of the United Board.
Thank you very much. Okay, Diane, you need to stay and work with us.
Sue, can we get the tally on all the votes?
Yeah,
please.
You will get it. It's on the screen.
It only takes a second. Let's hear the tally.
Okay, go ahead and give us the full tally, please, Catherine.
Okay, I'm doing it right now.
Just read it.
Diane Casey had 4 votes. They want it on the screen. Okay, so do you just want to hear it, or would you like me to?
No, just say it.
Okay, Diane Casey received 4 votes. Dave Merriweather received 2 votes. Ray Rashi received 3 votes, and 1 vote was withheld.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move on to, got me off balance. We were on the consent calendar. Let's do, we will move, okay. All right, let me give some background here. On the committee report appointments, I have appointed Elsie to the, as chair of the governing docs. That is the only appointment I have made. I will work with Diane Casey to make her appointments to the various committees, and I will be working with her and others if there are any other changes to be made.
Madam Chair, I have some additions and 1 correction.
Go ahead.
Anthony is still listed on the GRF insurance subcommittee, and I have 3 advisors. I don't know if you want them added on to this.
Yeah, we will do that. We will take care of that next time, and we will make sure we clean up the thing and Anthony's name no longer appears. Although he's an advisor on the insurance, I will talk to him and see if he wants to continue with that. Okay? And
Madam Chair, I have another correction. On the GRF Strategic Planning Committee, since the board has got to approve these committees, I have been assigned as one of the members of the subcommittee on that GRF Strategic Planning Committee, and I'm not listed. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, I got that notice. We will get this all corrected for the next meeting, and we will have a clean sheet there for everybody. There are a number of corrections on that. If you would email me your corrections, I will be working on getting this committee list cleaned up. But it was, until we got the name of the new board member, it wasn't worth putting in a number of times, and we will clean it all up. Is there any problem with that? Okay. So we've got the landscape committee request, and we've got the review of the subleasing and transfer trust, where we have to thank Manuel for putting in the hours to clean that up for us. We really appreciate what you've done, Manuel, and that will be our document that we will use. And everybody on the board appreciates the work that you have done on that. And so I'd like to know if I have a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I so move.
I second it.
Okay, any discussion? All right, it's done by acclamation. That takes care of that. All right. The unfinished business. Azar and Brian, have you looked at what you can look at and consistent with our statutory obligations?
Madam Chair, yes, I have looked and I have submitted some correction, especially regarding to one item over time in irrigation, and Betty told me that it's about $9,000. It's supposed not to be for us, and supposed to be for United Third. I received email that she said she will correct it, but I have not received the correction on the income statement or any of them. So I don't think the word ratified is correct for me for this one. That's my comment.
Okay. Brian, do you have some comments?
Yes, I reviewed the statements. I do have a comment about how are we classifying operating expense versus reserve with respect to Red Star Plumbing. And I think we just need to go back and reevaluate how we do that. Thank you.
Okay. Manuel?
Thank you, Sue. On item 12A, I just want to make some comments. Last night, late, I looked to the MAV and to some of the financial information, and I'm going to make a recommendation. In order to prepare the financial statements, it doesn't just trace right straight from the general ledger, and on the schedules that the directors get to review, call it trial balance, but it's the general ledger because it's got transactions. I found a couple of things that were a little bit alarming that I have to disclose because you should be aware of it. First of all, the cash in bank, when you look at the financial statements between the operating accounts and then the reserves, do not agree with the general ledger. And also, when they did the bank reconciliation for the regular account, for the operating account, they had two big transactions in the millions of dollars, which were transfers from GRF. And the reason I bring that up is that I think one more input that the DMS has to provide to the director so they can sign off on this thing is a list of the adjustments to the general ledger to provide the financial statements. Those transfers of $4 million from GRF to United go back to September and October. And the bank reconciliation shows the adjusted general ledger should only be $3 million, whereas on the financial statements it shows $7 million. And what I could decipher from the information that I was looking at, one of them was a transfer of cash in September for half of that, a couple of $1 million. The other one was for October for $2 million. And my interpretation of those transactions, because on the bank reconciliation, it came down, you took the general ledger figure, which is about $7 million, and you came down to an adjusted general ledger figure of $3 million. Yet the financial statement shows $7. And then it shows in the bank rec that that cleared up December the 4th. So here's what I suspect. Those were transfers. I don't know whether they were by check or how, but they actually didn't get deposited in the United's account till December. They go back to September and October. Okay? So again, my recommendation is DMS needs to provide the directors that are signing off on this, because I would sign off on it right now myself, a listing of all adjustments, showing the amounts, and showing the descriptions. Okay, now, the other reason this is important, because I haven't talked about this before. When they made these new requirements under David Sterling that went into effect 2019, besides the sign-off on this, they also had another one, and that was that all transfers of $10,000 or more had to be approved by directors. Okay, and I've left that alone because I was concentrating on 5510 A and B and the separate bank account. Now it's time to bring that up. And that is just being rubber stamped. You cannot delegate responsibility. That was put in the law so that directors would do this. And at the time, I objected to it with the attorney. He said, no, we can just authorize DMS to do this, okay? This is disturbing because this needs to be looked at. And so I'm making you aware of this now.
Okay,
and what needs to be done.
Azar was aware of this, and Azar, you can go ahead and speak now about what you are planning to ask them to do.
Yes, Madam Chair. We had a huge amount with the finance staff, timing and meeting and talking about line by line. The two big number that it was mentioned about $2 million regarding to the GRF. It was two transactions. One of them that, as you know, that the big amount, all of them goes to the GRF account. And then from GRF, we receive it. And sometimes they accumulate it as together and then bring it. I brought that $2 million, and it was explained how it came. Another issue was, another $2 million was, as you can see, added, was when we decided totally the investment and the contingency money, about $2 million was totally, we closed that one and only have two accounts, operating and reserve accounts. So that was another transfer that is coming. Yes, they are, but the reason that maybe we are so behind is the finance department in the past, and I don't know why I never asked, they don't offer cash flow chart. Cash flow chart is very important in the finance. We have, congratulations to Diane, we have another finance that's coming. Cash flow chart is very important to understand how the money goes. I know the income statement shows as a general, but cash flow says exactly where the cash is and how it's moving. I was asked this one, and I was responded that nobody asked in the past, so we are not doing that one. But if you want it, we can start it. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start it, and we are compromised. Well, they didn't give me a green light for every month, but at least we compromise that every 3 months we get the cash flow chart, because that's the most important, that we can see exactly besides the number where the cash is. And I have two more comments when it comes to the time for the for the extra cash that we have right now. On the paper, the cash is there, but on the bank or on the account, we don't have that cash. And that's the problem.
Okay, we will be taking all these up in the Finance Committee, these changes that need to be made. And we have a meeting this month, and we will take this up. Okay, we're now on to unfinished. Well, essentially, we have not done 5501, and we're not comfortable about it, but we will move on. So we're on to new business. We need to vote for a new officer. So I need to. I'm opening up the to the board to nominate a person for vice president, first vice president. Andre, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to nominate Carl as the first vice president.
Is there a second? Carl, would you take the job if given?
Yes, I would.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Reza, I gather, Reza, do you want to nominate someone?
Yes, I would like to nominate Manny for first vice president.
Manuel, would you take the job if?
Yes, I will. Gladly.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so Catherine, can you take care of this vote?
Yes, if everyone would answer in the chat box to the organizers only, please.
Okay, while they take the count there, Elsie, if you're free, could you entertain the motion? Would you go over the motion for the sublease policy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as you all know about AB 30, I always get this number wrong, 3182. We voted, I'm not real clear about, I thought we voted for it with corrections, but then Manny didn't understand it that way, but it doesn't really matter about that. We did vote on it last meeting on something regarding that, and then it went, and this is to bring us into compliance with the AB 3182, which took effect January the 1st. And it has to do with changes to our subleasing rules. And the primary changes, if you recall, are we can't have a 20% limit anymore on rentals in the community. We have to go to 25%. And the other thing is we can't require that people reside in their manors for a year before they can rent out their unit. And the third one, Manny, help me here. The third one is, what's the third big one?
I'll help you. Third one is that the a sublease cannot be any less than 30 days. And let me correct that last statement. The rule before that a lot of people confused was that you could not sublease your unit out until you had owned it for a year. And a lot of people were misinterpreting that to mean that you had to own it and live in it. No, you just had, so you no longer are restricted from subleasing it. You can sublease it the minute you close escrow. Okay?
Right. So those are the three main changes, and the stuff we had wasn't real clear. So Manny did a huge amount of research, and very good research, and came up with a rewriting. It's really pretty elegant. It's a rewriting of the, and I know you all received it on your email. I don't know if you looked at it. And it takes a little bit of reading and a little bit of picking, but the end result is perfect, I think. He rewrote the resolution, and what I'd like to do is to propose that we accept Manny's rewriting of the resolution. And in addition to that, we need to revise one of the very important resolutions that we're actually leaving in place, which is Resolution 01-1350. And that's the resolution that was actually already okay as far as the 30 days went. And it just has to be corrected from the 20 to the 25%. But the important thing about 01-1350 is it also contains the other qualifiers such as age appropriateness, financial, blah, blah, blah. And we've had those in place, and we need to keep those in place. So 01-1350 is okay the way it is, with that one thing that needs to be changed. The 30 days is already there. It just has to be changed for the 25%, the 25%. And the rewriting of the resolution itself, which is it's on page 2 of the. Did everybody read the thing that Manny sent? Because I read it, Juanita's read it, Sue's read it, Manny obviously has read it, and I don't know if you feel comfortable approving this, but oh, and there's one little tiny mini typo on, oh, but that was just on Manny's like cover sheet when he's first talking about it, when he lists a particular resolution. Instead of 011010, it should be 010110. So that's a tiny miny, and if you didn't read it and didn't analyze it, you didn't notice it, and that's fine. But aside from that, the resolution itself, I think, is perfect. But that's me. So I would like to move that we accept this.
I will second her resolution. Okay, I will second her motion.
So there.
It's taken care of. Pamela, we will be sending this on to you, and we want to go ahead on record that that we're going to have, Carl has a question, but we will go on record that we are looking at putting this in place the way Manuel has written it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment. I'd like to comment that on this particular thing right now. I understand. I had a number of comments myself that I had sent to you, Sue, and I understand what's happening with Manny's update and rewrite almost. Okay, with regard to this. However, we're in a 28-day cycle right now. Okay, and does this meet everybody talks about Davis Sterling. Okay, does this meet the requirements of Davis Sterling, where just all of a sudden we make these changes and we adopt it? And I don't think it meets that requirement. But we'd like to get a buy-in from somebody that specifically can say that it meets the requirement. I'm okay with it, but I don't know if it meets the requirement. Okay, that's okay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
otherwise we could put it on another 28 days, but.
Manuel, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. No, that's a very good question by Carl, and I had the same question myself. The reason I stepped up to the plate and did this was because I didn't want us to pass a bad resolution, okay? And that is a valid question. However, the process that got us to this stage, what I don't believe was in conformance, because this should have gone to committee should have reviewed it, we should have approved it. We didn't do all that. The first time I saw this version that's in the minutes was in an email that I got on January 5th or 6th, I believe, from Francis Gomez, okay? And then that was supposed to go to the committee for approval before the board meeting. Carl, none of those things happened. So my attempt to do this was just to avoid a total screw up, okay?
Okay, we'll go on another 28 days. We're going to go on another 28 days, and it will be just fine with another 28 days so that we make sure that everybody feels comfortable with it. Diane, did you vote for the vice president? You're muted. Diane, you're muted.
Okay. All right. So I'm new to this app. So where is the
Do you have a chat box? There's a little bubble up in the right-hand side. If you click on that, you'll get what's called a chat box.
Okay.
And then
little bubble. Let's see.
It's next to where there's people
It's like
and
a cartoon bubble, like on a cartoon.
It says a number of people chatting. The number of chats, 20.
Right.
The chat box.
Okay. And so then I
click on that.
On my name?
No, just click on.
Just click on with. Yeah, I clicked on it. So
okay,
I see all of
the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom.
Organizers only.
2, you select organizers only.
Okay, let me get there. All right, so send chat message.
And then you put it in the message, you put the name of the person that you vote for.
Okay.
Make sure that you've selected organizers only.
Oh, I got that. Okay. And then I just put who I want, right?
Whoever you want to vote for, please.
Okay, there we go.
All right, we're going to put this on 28 days. Is there anybody that objects to that? All right. So we are ready to move on.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We should all get what the actual thing is. I mean, the Manny version is nice, okay, but is that official? We should all get a copy. But I'm saying we should all get a copy of it in the format, the staff report, the whole bit, so that we can look at it over the 28 days. Okay.
Yeah, we will get it in.
Carl, it is perfect. Okay, Carl? Believe me, it is perfect.
We understand it's perfect. We will redistribute it in the next packet that goes out with stuff. I'm sure Siobhan can help, and Grant can do that for us. and we will take care of it. And Pamela will take care of it too. All right. I want to get through because we've got a lot on the afternoon board. So let's move on here. Reza, do you want to say something?
What happened to the result of the
We just got the last vote in. They're tallying them. Thank you.
We're ready,
All right,
President
let's do it.
Margolis. We're ready.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
The person that received the most votes for the first vice president is Manuel Armendariz with 6.
Okay. Moving on.
Sue, may I make a comment, please?
No, you're done. You're done. We're moving on. Okay, we've got the financial report now.
Yes, one moment.
Yes, financial report. If we get the slides for the Treasury Report. We had a Finance Committee met on December 29, and the next meeting is January 26. However, as you can see in this package that you received, number 2 says United Finance Report will be issued under separate cover, which I have never received anything. But I will go over the Treasury Report. For the Treasurer, we can see the slide 1 is through the reporting period of November 30th, 2020. Total revenue for United was $40 million. This is not matched with what we compared to the expenses. Is this the November 30? Okay, it's almost 40. And compared to the total expenses, which is $36.5 million, leave us with a net revenue of $4.2 million. If we can move to the slide 2, please. In finance, we keep a close eyes on the operating portion of our finance results. The operating fund without depreciation shows that we have a surplus of $524,000 at the end of November 30th. And this part is specifically for operating. Please understand, this is not adding with the property tax on that. And slide 3, please. This chart gives you the full income statement and compare those results with the budget. As you can see in the first line, the assessment revenue 39.1 and the budget was 38.6. We end up with a variance, and this is the number that you saw in the previous one. And as you can see at the end, the net revenue expense actually is $4.2 million. Compared to the budget, the variance is a little bit touch of above the $6 million. We will back to this $4.2 million surplus. That's what we wanted to do with that. And slide 4, please. If you're wondering where those surplus come from, this is the real things that you can see. Outside services, favorable of $2.5 million, and most of them is because it was a hold due to COVID-19 to a majority for almost 3 months. That's why we end up with getting this money as a surplus. Next to that, neck to neck, is employee compensation, which is $2.4 million. And this is, again, is due to COVID-19 that many staff furloughed, and therefore we are end up with this amount saving. Next to that is material and supplies, which is 1.4 million favorable variance, resulting in several areas of the operating due to non-essential replacement program, such as interior components, and due to, again, COVID-19. Unrealized gain loss is favorable, 415,000 due to reporting to unrealized gain on available for sale investment. And the only one in this page that you can see is not favorable, is unfavorable, as you all aware, is insurance. And this is based on the renewal that we had it in 10/1/2020. The insurance jumped up. It was way over off the budget. Therefore, we end up with unfavorable of $805,000. Can we get a slide 5, please? In this chart, pie chart, you can see the total non-assessment revenue that is 1.6 million comes from where. You can see in this one that the largest one is starting 26% from unrealized gain loss, followed by fee and charges, which is 18%, and investment 15%. This chart is non-assessment revenue. And on chart 6, if you put that one up, thank you. These are total expenses by pie chart. It's much easier for the eyes. You can see where the expenses come. You can see the highest one, as usual, is compensation. And next to that is property. I don't call that one as an expense because we get the money for property and sales tax and directly from residents and give it back. But the highest is compensation, and next to that is outside service, which is 15%. So these two is the highest and goes all the way to the utility, insurance, and all the way down to miscellaneous for 1%. We should consider this one, how we can bring to the idea that, to my view, compensation and outside service is almost the same meaning, because we hire people to do the job from outside, and compensation, we hire people to do the job from inside. So it's going to be the same. So the next slide actually is more understandable. If you put slide 7, please. Okay, this is much better because the sales tax is not here. If you look at this, you can see the employee compensation. This is how operating works. 42%, and if you add 21% outside service to that, then you can get the 63%. 63% of the all budgeting is going through the compensation, basically. That needs a little bit attention to that. Slide 8, please. And as you can see, our fund balance are shown here. The contingency fund balance on November 30, 2020 was 1.1 million. Contributions and interest earned total 734,000, while expenditures came in 686,000 through the reporting period, which is higher than anticipated due to weather-related drain leaks and plumbing stoppage. The reserve fund balance on November 30, 2022 was $21 million, and contribution and interest collected total is 11 million, while expenditures was 7.2 million. So these are all limited due to COVID-19 shutdown orders. And slide 9, please. This is good to know that because is in this kind of chart, which we call bar chart, we compare this to historical fund balance. That little line, the tiny black line, it shows the average for the last 5 years. As you can see right now, we are above the average, all of them, including adding the contingency fund, replacement fund, and when you add together is above, which is $21 million. Average is 21 million, and we are a touch above that. At this point, yes, compared to the last 5 years. And then the last slide, please. This is always we show to see how resale history is. This is compared to 2018, 19, and 20. Of course, no doubt that 20 for a few months, the sale goes down. However, we are going back to the a little bit up. The chart shows that one. So far, as of November, we sold 289 units. And compared to the last year, which was at 326, we were shorter. However, the price didn't drop. The average prices last year was 257,000, and the same for this year. So the price of the units as the average didn't drop, and that little bit difference between selling was due to actually two things. First, the first 3 months, and as you can see in November, that drop, it doesn't mean in November and December we drop on the sale. Unfortunately, we didn't, because of the cyber attack, we didn't have access, and then it didn't go through very normal reporting and coming all of the units that sold in December be exactly shows on the December chart, on the November chart. So basically, with that said, this is the reporting for the as a treasurer for the November.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to the architecture and control. Brian?
Yes, we had a meeting on December 16th, and it was quite extensive. We rolled out our goals that we wanted to see as a committee, reviewed them. A major topic is the asbestos issue, and we're working with manner alterations to set up a meeting, and at that meeting we'd like to get a independent and objective expert to come and talk to the group. The next meeting is scheduled for January 21. Thank you.
Thank you. Member hearing, Cash?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next meeting is on January 28th, so there's nothing to report on member hearing.
Thank you. Governing docs, we had a meeting. I was very disappointed in the minutes. Elsie will be taking over this group, and we will be meeting on January 21st at 1:30. It's a virtual meeting. Thank you. Landscape, Andre.
Yes, December 10th, we had a landscape committee meeting, and I talked about the 4 goals of landscape committee this year is to improve communication in landscape policy and procedures, improve key performance indices such as workload, efficiencies, and effective, and improve quality program with help from neighborhood landscape watcher and maximize returns on landscape expenses. We will focus on spending money on the best returns, like staff shortage and equipment shortage issues, rather than monies on the other issues that are not the core business of the landscape issue. What we found out is that landscape now has 2 weeks schedule. In the past, it hasn't been accurate. Since we've been monitoring and we found out that landscape schedules are very inaccurate, and we've already expressed the concern. Landscape has already started looking into that and found out why they are inaccurate, why the schedule provided by the contractors are not that accurate for us to monitor. Okay, and also we'd like to put all the landscape information on one website, possibly create a landscape information repository to have everything landscape in there. Right now, you have to go to different places, find out landscape information. That is very cumbersome for the resident to find out what's going on with landscape. And right now, there's a lot of landscape complaints. What we recommend is everybody need to send your landscape complaints to the resident servers first. Then send it to the, if there's no response, satisfactory response, after a week, then send it to the board members. The reason we do that is not to, it's not that we don't want your opinion, but we want to make sure the system, the VMS has a log of all the issues so we can do analysis, KPIs in the future. And also, we would like to give VMS staff a first choice of solving the problem before more board members started jumping on them. So please send the information to the resident services at vmsinc.org. And then after a week or so, if the information, if there's no satisfactory result, you can contact us. We can look into that and find out why it's delayed. These procedures will be followed strictly. Hopefully we will have better quality with our processes. Thank you very much. Our next meeting will be February 11th, I believe February 11th. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's correct. February 11th. Thank you.
Maintenance.
The last United MNC meeting took place on December 18th. At the meeting, we discussed where we stand with all of the projects that are now being worked within United. Most of the projects have been restarted, as was stated in our last board meeting, and 4 of those actually are completed. Since then, the Shepherd's Crook fencing was to be completed by the end of the year, as well as termite fumigation of those manors where VMS has been granted permission. With regard to termite fumigation, this past year, we had permitted some residents to defer the termite fumigation work until next year due to the pandemic. In addition to the projects that I had just stated, the following projects have been worked, and this is their end-of-year status. Replacement of pushmatic panels. Approximately 175 out of 275 planned for 2020 were completed. Due to the pandemic, many of these were not completed because residents were uncomfortable allowing the workmen to enter their homes. Waistline remediation program. 63 out of a planned 139 buildings were completed in 2020. This work also required entry into people's homes, and due to the pandemic, many of these were not completed because residents were uncomfortable again. And number 3, prior to paint program. 8 cul-de-sacs were planned to be worked in 2020. However, due to the pandemic, where work was stopped for a while during the year, only 3.5 cul-de-sacs were completed. The remainder of the buildings and the cul-de-sacs that were not completed in 2020 will be worked in 2021, and they will fall under the new 15-year paint program, which is started as of January 1st. Our next meeting will be a virtual meeting. that is scheduled for February 24th at 9:30 a.m. All residents are invited, and you can participate via Granicus. Thank you.
Okay, Resident Advisory, Reza.
Hi. I think there's a thing on March 20. I was not on that committee, so I don't know who was there. So I don't have any report on that.
Okay, have people been contacting you?
No, not yet. Next meeting has to be announced later.
Okay. I believe you received a contact from Andre, but we'll worry about that. Okay, next, communications.
We didn't have meeting for the communication, but we communicate by email every other month to meet the deadline for the brief. And we ask concern, suggestion, articles, and ideas from the board, and we will implement it in multiple platforms that we have, like the website, brief, email, and the other platforms. And we don't have meeting. It's the next one is going to be announced. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Azar, the Grs Finance Committee.
Yes, the meeting, GRS meeting was held on December 16, 2020, and three main issues was discussed there. GRF expenditures were better than budget. They announced by $1.7 million, and they decided that any surplus that is seen at the end of the year will be transferred to the contingency fund. And number two issue was insurance, and the GRF insurance was renewed with the premium coming to $2.1 million against the budget of 1.7. And of course, everybody knows that based on the high premium for the insurance. And the third that they announced was the meeting. In the meeting was the value of investment. GRF investment portfolio has a gain of 3.9% as of November 30th. So next meeting will be on February 17 at 1:30.
Okay. Andre, GRF strategic planning.
Yes, the GRF Strategic Committee is the one that is the only strategic committee we have. So they discuss and consider the committee charter of what are we supposed to do, and it's still in discussion at this point. And they solicited and reviewed the cooperation priorities. And so at this point, we are trying to identify the priorities and talk about the possibilities of all the strategic plans. And we also want VMS input on possible focus areas. Right now, these are still in discussion stage, and we will talk about it once the decision is made. And our next meeting is TBD at this point. Will be announced later. Thank you.
Two objectives were chosen. One was facilities and one was customer service, and there are subcommittees that were formed. Okay, CAC, Elsie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The meeting was held on December the 10th. It was a virtual meeting at 1:30 in the afternoon. A lot of what we discussed was something that will appeal to, well, not appeal to Carl, but be of interest to Carl, is that the driving range improvement project has been removed for now, whatever that means. So, but what was a lot of the stuff involved the outdoor activity list and the stuff we could do outdoors and you know, and a lot of that's been changed because of the recent spike in COVID and the subsequent re-shutdown of stuff. But something that was interested, when things get better, they discussed a request by a resident that wanted to use an outdoor area of Clubhouse 4 to do his sculpture work, but we ended up not, the committee ended up not allowing that because of all the COVID problems and other problems. But when the COVID starts to lift up, they're going to include, we decided to include the outdoor sculpture area to be treated like other outdoor areas, because currently it's being treated like a clubhouse and it's completely sealed off because of the clubhouse closures, but they're going to include that in the outdoor activities. So that's a big deal to people in Clubhouse 4. And the next meeting will be on the 14th of January at 1:30 in the afternoon. And you can see it on Granicus. Thank you.
Andre, landscape, GRF landscape.
Landscape committee, there's no landscape committee during the last month, and we took Christmas and New Year's break. Next meeting will be on February 10th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. online. Thank you.
GRF maintenance and construction, Carl?
GRF M&C committee had a meeting on December 9th. At that meeting, we reviewed the project log for work that was being worked during 2020. We also discussed the need and use of seismic valves in the gas lines to the GRF facilities where gas enters the building. These valves would shut off the supply of gas of the building should we have a seismic event over a certain value on the Richter scale. In the closed meeting, we reviewed the work activities for which we are planning to issue contracts regarding the Performing Arts Center upgrades and maintenance tasks. At the end of the closed meeting, the committee passed those items on to the board for their approval. I believe that those items were approved at the GRF board meeting, and as such, work will start in the near future for those activities. I would like to add that the work that was approved to be done is within GRF's budgets now. By doing this work piecemeal, as many had envisioned, and reducing the scope of work, we have been able to bring the pricing down substantially from what it had been discussed at previous Performing Arts Center meetings that had been held at the beginning of 2020. Our next meeting will be a virtual meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow morning, February 10th at 9:30, I believe. No, excuse me, on February 10th, not tomorrow. February 10th at 9:30. Do you want me to do the Clubhouse 1 ad hoc committee?
Yes.
We have not had a meeting since September 20th. A meeting will be scheduled soon. This is a long-term project, and various members of this committee are addressing various issues surrounding the potential changes that are anticipated to be made in that building. In the meantime, VMS has put together a potential bid document that will be submitted to an architectural firm to address with the community what thoughts the people in Laguna Woods Village may have regarding this building and the other clubhouses. This is still a work in progress, and there is no specific meeting planned at this time. It's a TBD.
Netta, Media and Communication.
Thank you. Is the GRF Media and Communication held on Monday, December 14 at 1:30? That's okay. If Elsie, do you want to do the report? That's okay with me, because I see my name over there on the opening document. I'm just started, but if you want to do it because you were there, you can do it if you want.
It's perfectly all right with me, Nada. I'm sorry, I just jumped right in. Go right ahead.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No problem.
Let's get it done.
Okay. Yeah, okay, sure. And, we welcome the new advisor, Mrs. Teresa Frost. And then Ms. Pauline presented the Department of Media and Communication accomplishment for 2020. We have a lot, but I'm just reading a little bit of it. One of them is department reorganization, staffing cost saving, coronavirus communication, face masks, donation and distribution, insurance coverage crisis, cyber attack, and project and upgrade in the village, social media like Facebook, direct email, and the email that I want to just say that is the info.lagunawoodsvillage.com, monitored and answered daily. And the chair of the committee mentioned the new editor of the Globe, that person is a resident for the village, and the broadband subscriber rates are at an all-time high. And the next meeting should be January 18 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, Elsie, now the mobility.
The last meeting was October the 7th of the Mobility and Vehicle Committee. December's meeting was canceled, and the next meeting is February the 3rd, 2021. That's it.
Security. Manuel.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, Sue. The last meeting was held December 28th. It was a virtual meeting. And there are a couple items of importance that were discussed. The first one was that a new policy was recommended regarding providing security officers a special event.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound. To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN.
And they said that it issue arose because several of the clubs wanted security to be available, and that's why the policy was being proposed. And so I recommended that it not be mandatory, and it's not. And so here's what was passed. Director Bada made a motion to amend the Recreation and Special Events Department policy, allowing clubs and residents to obtain fee-based security services when hosting special events, and removing the word mandatory from the report. Director Armendariz seconded the motion, and of course it was passed. So that was the big major item for discussion. Then we talked about disaster preparedness, and I made a recommendation there, and I suggested that perhaps the mutuals should buy 2 fire extinguishers for every manor, and then have the disaster preparedness group have instruction meetings so that the residents can learn how to use them. And the reason why I recommended this is because of our fire insurance, and also because most of our fires so far have been kitchen fires. And I think that we have a lot of residents that are probably pretty helpless at putting out fires, and I think this would be a good program. Unfortunately, nobody supported my idea, with the exception of Bert Moldau. He said, you know, it's a good idea, but we don't think the mutual should take on that expense. And so maybe we should have somebody write an article in the Breeze so that residents are made aware this would be a good program. Again, I bring it up because I think it'd be worthwhile doing. I really do, because one way or another, the residents are paying for it. I mean, if the mutual buys all these, installs them, teaches them how to use it, I think it is a good safety precaution.
Okay.
And they pay for you for assessment.
Manuel,
report next
debate
yeah.
that here. just a report.
Okay.
You're the one that likes
Next
these
meeting will
so
be
fast.
Next meeting will be February 22nd at 1:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting. Thank you.
Okay, traffic hearing, Addington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was a meeting held on December the 16th. There were 12 alleged offenders on the list, but due to technical difficulties, none came for a hearing. After 20 minutes or so, we approved the list that was ticketed to be ticketed, and then it was adjourned. And next meeting will be held on January 20th at 9 o'clock.
And there was some confusion with this one because it had been put on the calendar as canceled. Okay, so let's go on to disaster preparedness. Cash.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Basically, there was no meeting, but what has happened so far is we have selected some volunteers after advertising in the Globe to put the fire alert devices, 3 in mutual. Each mutual, there will be 3 in United and 3 in Third Mutual. These devices are being like a pilot program to make sure they work. What this thing is before the fire starts, there's always smoke, and these devices detect the smoke and turn off the kitchen fires or turn off the oven and the cooktop. So this is a step before the fire, and we probably will have the results in the next 3 months on how this program will go. That's all I will report. The next meeting is still not determined, but will be available. Will be there probably sometime later this month or early next month. Thank you.
Okay, and last report on, you can go ahead on to the insurance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, our committee for insurance met on January 7th, and the RFP has been sent out to possibly select a new broker. Third Mutual wants to go with their own agent, John Pastor, who is also an agent for another community, Rossmoor, and they have opted to insure to the fullest amount and separated from United and GRF, who are still together. This required a rewrite in the RFP on the road, which is already on the road, and corrected RFP has been promised by owners, by our staff for delivery this week. Expert also included in discussion are thoughts for in-house insurance expert and to see if United could supplement insurance with individuals' manner insurances, loss assessment costs. Tentative implementation is around March of this year. Details will be known when the RFP replies come, which should be sometime very soon. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, are there any future agenda items? Okay, I'm going to skip directors' comments. Well, okay. Are there any directors that need to make comments at this point? Manuel.
Thank you, Sue. I'd like to thank those directors that voted for me for first vice president. And I promise you, I will work hard just like I have in the past to do everything I can to improve things for all of our members, because I know that's what we're all here for, is to improve things for them. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Cash, did you want to go?
Yeah, I want to make a quick comment. Manuel, I really appreciate the changes you've done in yourself, and you've improved your quality way too much, but please hold your comments, etc., for 3 minutes, because the meeting doesn't have that much time for everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to give a quick comment. Here's a bit of helpful information on how to improve ventilation. If you have someone in your house and you find yourself in a closed room with others and want to be safe against the virus, you need more air circulation. Small openings, opening a window 2 inches is quite effective in cold weather. There's a big temperature difference and there is more of air flow. Regularly opening the windows 10 minutes per hour can be nearly as good as constant window opening, especially if you leave the room. All right, this meeting is recessed. We will meet back at 12:30. We have a large board meeting at 12:30, so I will see you then. Thank you, everyone. You need to log into a new number. Everyone received it this morning because it is a closed meeting and there's delicate things.
Can you repeat that number?
Thank you.
No, I don't want to repeat it on television.